Hi everyone, it's Chandelier Thoughts 555 and I'm here with another video. And this video is a bit more touchy, so I have some things written down. So if you see me looking down a couple of times, excuse me. I just want to make sure that I get everything presented in this video as coherently as possible. So in this video, the topic is about self-acceptance while dealing with sexual promiscuity, or dealing with or what they say, like a sexual addiction, or dealing with having being, I don't know if I should say this, but sexually abused, having people that you did not consent to touching you, having availability to your body, whether it was multiple times or just one person, or being a person that came from a religious household and went away to college, and you didn't know about sex, but you were really curious about it, and you ended up exploring more than you should have. Not saying that sex in itself is a bad thing, but without proper precautions such as getting tested, being in the heat of the moment, not having condoms, things gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We're built for sex. We came from sex. We're eventually may have it sometimes in our life. So yeah, basically something to keep in mind throughout this video is this quote that I made, which is, more drivers does not equal more mileage. So what does that mean? So yes, you may have had more drivers come and go inside your car, right? Let's say you have a car that's brand new. You drove it. Let's say you let your big brother drive it, or let's say you had your cousins drive it, or you had your best friend drive it, or you had just a whole bunch of different people driving your brand new car, right? And then let's say you got a car, the same car that's brand new, and there's another reality in which you just drive the car, right? You don't want nobody in your car. You don't want no accidents. You're not being nice. Um and you're not letting nobody steal your keys from the counter because you're aware that some of your kids or somebody in your house will be sneaky. So you keep your keys next to your keychain on your chest. Like, you're just very protective of that vehicle, and you have the perfect situation in which you could keep it safe. So let's say, over time, that new car is going to develop mileage, right? And despite the fact that you have a brand new car and you're the only person using it, eventually it's going to become a used car. And no matter the amount of times that you drive it, it will still have the same amount of mileage as the car that was more accessible to other people. The only difference is that the other car that had more accessibility to more people has higher risk of probably getting into accidents, right? Because some people don't really know how to handle other people's stuff, or they're probably just not as good drivers as you, or whatever case may be. They could all be great drivers. There's just a potential for a risk. Some people may drive your car better than you because they don't want to mess it up. So it all just depends. But at the end of the day, after the end of the year, it's the same mileage. No difference. So I'm saying this just so that people could have a better conception of themselves if they are dealing with this problem. Because sometimes the way we speak about ourselves after certain experiences could cause you to want to, like, take a shower with bleach. And on top of having that negative internal, mindset, that negative dialogue that you have within yourself, it could be very self deprecating. And then let's say you have the paranoia of feeling like people are talking about you because you have more mileage, right? But yet, you're still a brand new car. You're still a brand new car. Nobody sees what happened. It may have happened and you may be aware of it, but at the end of the day, like it's brand new, right? It's brand new. Let's say you did have more people going into your car, but a week after letting them drive and carpool, you're like, I don't want to do this, right? A week later, the car is still as new as the other car that didn't have carpooling. It's the same. There's no difference, you know? It's all about how the car is treated. But at the end of the day, the value of the car, if it was driven the same amount of times or even more, like there's not really much difference. Nobody that sees you for the first time, like unless you're a person that knew the car, yeah, then you know the car's history and whatnot. But nobody that sees you is gonna know the difference between either one of the cars, you know? So basically is a way of saying that there's a fresh start every day, you know? And if you had sexual practices that in your mindset you think is negative and causing more harm to your body, then yes, you could start the next day fresh, excuse me, and nobody will know. Nobody will know. You'll probably feel some type of way about it because that's how you were taught by society to feel. And maybe, you know, you may be disappointed that you probably had relationships that didn't work out or incompatibility or commitment issues, or you were doing this for money, whatever reason you was doing it for at that chapter in your life in which it made sense, and then you're at a new chapter in your life where it doesn't fit you, you know. I've been through it. I've gone through it. I went through a period of my life where I was really depressed and I was like emotionally eating but with sexual activity. And you know, I was like, what if people are going to think about me? And I'm at a point where I'm kind of happy that it happened because I was a really sheltered person. So it kind of made me more comfortable with my sexuality because of how much I engaged in it. Like now is almost like I'm not desensitized, but I am aware of my sexual prowess. I'm aware of, you know, sexual energy. And is something that I feel like when I have children, I could tell them, you know, my experiences. I will not necessarily tell them to have less sexual encounters, but I'll say, you know, I'll probably be more involved to make sure that they're dealing with people that are decent, you know. I'm not expecting my kids to get married with the first person that they meet because sometimes two good people are not really good for each other, and that's fine. But let's get back to this. So, you know, your body is made for sex, right? We all came here from sex, as I said earlier. And if you could take anything from this video, is if somebody says that you're ran through as a woman, you're not ran through because you're not ran through. If you were married and you had sex 300 times, because there's 365 days of the year and you guys are in the honeymoon phase having sex 3 or 4 times a day, you're not more ran through or less ran through than a woman that was tricking. You're not. There's no difference in value. It's just difference of how it was used. So, you know, if you're someone that's coping with your past and how society views you, then yes, you know, there is a higher risk of catching an STI from having multiple sexual partners. But you are not more used up than somebody that, you know, has sexual intercourse with their husband and they almost drink every time before they have sex because that gets them more aroused or something. Like, you know, there's not much difference. It's all about how you take care of yourself. It's all about taking precautions. If being in your rotation phase or whole phase is a part of your life that just makes more sense as that chapter of your life, then accept it, go through it, and move on. If it doesn't fit you, and some people may never go through that phase, that's fine too. But the woman that doesn't go through the phase versus the woman that, you know, does, I lost track of a thought, sorry. But no matter what, at the end of the day, we as people have value. And there's no such thing as being more used up than the other person. As you know, well, that's my take on it. Some people may disagree. Again, I'm not promoting negative sexual habits or unhealthy, risky sexual habits. But if you have a community of people or your own mind is telling you that you're dirty, you're worthless, you're used up, you're not as, valuable as, a woman that's a virgin or this and that. Eventually, if that woman gets married, she's gonna have sexual account. Like, the amount of sex is still the same amount of sex. Not saying that you should do it, not saying that is healthy, but you're not a more used person. Like, two new cars, different experiences, possibly the same mileage, more or equal take. If they were driven, like, the encounters are the same as the same mileage. So it's just different ways of it, different experiences, different walks of life, different ways of processing things, different, just different. But that's your path, that's the other person's chapter, and that's it. That's my take on it. So, what do we take away? More drivers does not equal more mileage. And who cares what people says if you're at a, who cares? Just go through life, learn the lesson, and don't talk so negatively about yourself because it doesn't help anybody. And if you look at yourself in the mirror, you wouldn't see that you're just a new car that's about to be driven. Like, this is a new day of your life that's about to happen. And you shouldn't let the other days behind you matter. Any day you can start fresh. So, despite what society may tell you that you're not as valuable as a woman because you have more bodies, that's not true. Because, to be honest, until people ask you, most of them may not even notice. They don't know. Nobody could read your mind. Nobody could see your history unless you have it tatted all over your body. And even then, like, people could assume that maybe, I don't know, those could be your siblings or something. Like, I don't know. But unless you have the amount of people that you had intercourse with tatted on your face, nobody's gonna know. And even if you do have it tatted on your face, they're still probably gonna ask because they would wonder what that tattoo means. So either which way, nobody's gonna know unless you tell them. And if they judge you after you tell them, then they're just ignorant and they just didn't see your value. And if they didn't want to see your value, then that's fine. There'll be another driver that may. So thank you guys. Chandelier Thoughts 555. And I hope to see you again. Deuces.